Hello and welcome to Mysteries Beyond. I'm your host, Laura Lavender. Today we have special guest, Lucas, aka the Devil's Advocate. He's an occult practitioner of Draconian Demon Magick and infernal mysticism and has 5 years of experience. As an entertainer in the worlds of both film acting and stage magic, Lucas aims to make learning about the dark side of magic a bit more approachable and practical, while also adding a sense of mystical realism to his performances in the world of entertainment. Welcome, Lucas. How are you?
Doing well, Laura. Thanks for having me. How you doing?
I'm good too. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So before we completely dive into this topic, I think it'd be a good idea to kind of go over on what the left-hand path is. So how would you explain that?
Sure. Yeah, it's something that a lot of people debate about what exactly it means. I think it stemmed from I believe Hinduism, if I'm not mistaken. How I would like to describe the left-hand path, though, is kind of not. It's not always the path of the adversary, but I think it's very close to it.
Okay.
I think it's a mindset for the magician to operate outside of tradition. Because usually, from what I've been able to gather in my research and studies and other such things, is
Mhm.
that the right hand path is much about creating that union with God or heaven or whatever equal type of thought process that would be. It's making that union,
Mhm.
whereas the left hand path, I've found to be a bit more about forging your own path. And I want to be very careful with this terminology, but like becoming the god of your own reality. And I know that can be kind of jarring to people, and it's not literal. You don't start making trees and birds and stuff. It's symbolic of becoming that master of your reality, and rather than making that union with a divinity, it's reaching that divine status, being
Okay.
the most perfect version of yourself that you can be. That's how I'd like to describe it. Some people argue that like the right hand path would like omit the dark, and then the left hand path integrates it. I think that's
Hmm.
a kind of a decent outlook to it too. Um, but it gets complicated. But that's my outlook on it.
That was kind of going to be my next question because I guess from the little bit of research that I've done, to my understanding, left-hand practitioners embrace both dark and light. Is that
Mm,
correct?
I would say so.
Okay, cool. So would you say, I guess that kind of answered my second question. I was going to say, would you say that both the right-hand path and the left-hand path have the same goal, to become one with source? But I guess the left-hand path is forging your own way.
Sort of. Yeah, yes and no, because they are kind of trying to do the same thing just through a different viewpoint. Either way, whether you're merging with divinity or becoming divinity, it's about ascension.
Right.
Like that is the main goal of both of them. And a lot of people think are of the mindset that you can do both. And it's just about when do you implement each. I was reading in the beginning of a new book that just came out by Anathema Publishing, Rod and Ring. The author actually says we have two hands to clap. So,
True.
using both hands, the right hand and the left hand, depending on what you need, depending on the situation. Some people do believe is feasible, and I think I would subscribe to that as well. It's all about
Right.
what path are you following and what paths make up your great work, I suppose we could say.
All right. Yeah, I agree too. I think that you can walk the middle path in a way, right?
Mm, absolutely.
And so seeing how this is not one of the most common, right? Because everybody thinks about spirituality. And when they think about spirituality, they automatically think to love and light. But of course, that's not the case. I mean, there's a dark side to it too, and that's part of it. But my question was going to be, what led you down this path? Like, how did you get started in this journey?
Right. I one could say by accident, even though I don't believe in like accidents with this sort of work. It's actually funny. I've got the book right here, but I actually started with the dark, which
Wow.
yeah, it's like it usually even on my social media, I'll be like, I don't always recommend that. If you're pulled to starting with the dark, go for it, see how it goes. But before I get into my story of how I kind of got into the dark, I would recommend some sort of balance in there to new practitioners out there. But
Good to know.
yeah, how I got into this was I was actually going to the bookstore to look for the Satanic Bible because at the time I was in college, and I heard it was a lot more uh, philosophical and almost psychology based rather than like any sort of religion. And I didn't know the
Okay.
first thing about religion or spirituality. This was like 2016. I went to the bookstore, and I actually left with the Simon Necronomicon instead of the
Nice.
Satanic Bible. And a lot of people, there's a good amount of practitioners out there that do not like this book, and I can understand why. But when I picked it up and read it, I was not a book fan. Like before this moment, I tore through this like 300 or so page book in about like a day or two.
Oh,
That's how
wow.
much it like yeah, that's how much it really grasped me. I'm like, what is this? Because before that, I always thought that magic was like something to do with Dungeons and Dragons, or
Right.
magic was like stage illusions. I never made that connection that magic was an actual field of study. So from there, what happened was I went back to pick up the Satanic Bible, get what I was originally looking for, and I guess my dark journey did start with atheistic Satanism, with LaVeyan Satanism.
Hmm.
I was a LaVeyan Satanist for maybe about a month and a half until I kind of got bored with it, and
That's a short period, right? Like a
yeah.
month and a half.
I'm like, I tried it, didn't really work for me, but I liked the symbolism and the ideas behind what Satanism could be. So
Hmm.
between that structure and between like what this book was talking about with magic and ritual, I kind of just savagely scoured the internet and like other witchy circles around my city and stuff to see if there was any sort of semblance of of a system of demonic working. And that's where I found Draconian Demon Magic, which is like a very intense form of demon magic. And I was like, all right, let's try it.
Wow. So, okay, so you brought up the book Necronomicon.
Mhm.
So, what exactly does that book talk about? Like, what does it teach? Because it's not the first time that I've heard it. I've actually, I don't know, I was watching like an interview with Marilyn Manson, and if I remember correctly, I think he actually accredited that book for his whole life changing.
Wow.
So, yeah, what does it teach? What does it talk about?
Of course. Well, this is a lot of people like to refer to this one specifically as the Simon Necronomicon because it was written by this ominous author named Simon. Many people believe that to be the occult author Peter Lavendia, but that's a whole different rabbit hole. What this Necronomicon talks about mostly is in reference to Sumerian mythology
Okay.
and old myth of that regards, like the Emuna Elish. I hope I said that right. And like beings like Enki, um, Inanna, Tiamat, other such entities. However, what this book does is that it puts those entities and that practice into a Western ceremonial magical system, similar to like Kabbalah or what you would find in kind of like even the Goetia of sorts. Um, and it does all this with Lovecraftian psychodrama presentation. So
Oh,
I kind of like to call it the ultimate example of chaos magic
oh, okay.
because it takes three different types of thinking and finds a way to weave all of it through this medium that a lot of practitioners wouldn't initially create. And they attribute the book a lot to Crowley as well,
Hmm.
um, which, truth be told, I haven't really read too much on Crowley by himself.
Yeah.
But this book, I mean, I've gotten a lot of success with it at least. And the reason I say this Necronomicon is because there are a lot of Necronomicons out there.
Yeah, I did. When I looked that book up, like I placed it on my Amazon cart and I saw one of your TikTok videos and I saw the cover. So luckily I was able to get that one.
Mhm.
But yeah, I did come across like a whole bunch of them. So
Yeah, some other Necronomicons I would recommend would be from I believe it's Donald Tyson.
Okay.
He takes the Necronomicon books and magical systems from a very Lovecraftian source of using Lovecraft source material and chaos magic itself to create a Lovecraftian path working, which is
Mhm.
really cool. Um, but yeah, this one's been a lot of controversy, especially within both Western ceremonial magicians and Sumerian reconstructionists, which
Oh,
again,
wow.
understandable.
Wow. So that book doesn't, so it talks about more like yeah, like the Sumerian goddess, like you said, Inanna and Enki. I can't pronounce the name. What was the name again?
Enki.
Enki.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so okay, demons, right? You work with demons pretty much.
Yeah.
So that is shocking to most people. But you know, what can we learn from them? Like, what are they evil? Are they evil beings? Because to my knowledge, I know that the word demon comes from, the Greek meaning divine being.
Mhm.
So are these divine beings evil? What can they teach us, or what can we learn from them? What have they taught you?
Sure. I would not say they're evil.
Okay.
Intense, most definitely, but not
Okay.
evil. Like when it comes to these ideas of what is good and evil, I mean, those words are, of course, just created by humans, so we can categorize what we want and what we don't want.
Right.
Um, and the whole reason a lot of people think they're evil is because all of these great figures and gods have been demonized, right? By
Yes.
by modern day
Religion.
religion.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so I wouldn't say they're evil. I would say there can be a super dark and evil side to them. But
Okay.
the same can be said about angels.
That's
You know,
true.
I yeah, I believe that there is a light and dark in just about every being, whether they're found on the light or dark spectrum. That just goes
Hmm.
back to yin yang. There's light and darkness and light.
Yeah.
Um,
I
let's see here. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I definitely agree with that. I don't think that angels are necessarily all good. I think that they do have a dark aspect to them as well. So I was wondering about
Mm,
demons because, like anything else, I mean, for people to work, and I've seen a couple of people who work with demons, and they don't necessarily look evil. They don't necessarily seem like they're into, the most horrendous actions. So I'm wondering, what is it about these beings? Why do people want to work with them? I know I've heard reasons from like working with angels. They usually make you work harder than demons would. I don't know if that's true or not. Would you agree with that?
I would highly disagree with that, honestly.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, I would, because what the demonic does in my research and in my personal experience is that they help you integrate your dark side through the means of dark magic.
Mhm.
And dark magic doesn't always mean like, actually rarely ever mean like sacrificing goats or
Right.
committing crimes. Like I mean, there's some sects of Satanism that are meant to, like, that they want to be sinister. I think they're called like sinisterism even.
Oh.
But that is not the majority of Satanism. That is not the majority of demonology. When it comes to what you can get out of demonic work and doing this infernal magic, is integrating not only your dark side but connecting with more primordial energies that have been in the universe since the beginning of time itself. And
Wow.
yeah, learning to connect with those dark aspects and seeing the light from a dark perspective and seeing the dark for what it has to offer is a
Mhm.
big part of what the demonic are all about. It's about, like, and that's why I highly disagree with, oh, angels will work you harder,
Mhm.
because the demonic, at least on the draconian current, is going to be throwing those primordial energies at you, and they're going to say, handle it or get crushed.
Ooh.
And that doesn't mean like die. It just
No, no.
means when you fail a lesson, it's a big lesson to learn.
So they're gonna put you to test, and you're gonna have to work hard for
Oh yes, yeah.
it. Wow. So I would say, so how would you differentiate it from Satanism? because I know most Satanists today actually, they don't even actually believe in the actual devil. They believe in what it represents, the symbology behind it, right? So the adversary, and having to, stand up to tyrannical authority. So how would you say that the left-hand path differentiates from Satanism?
Of course. Let's see. And sometimes I even have like I keep coming back to this question as well, where I'm like, what is the difference? And I would say Satanism as it stands, whether it's theistic or atheistic, is a structure of a viewpoint. Like it's the structure of the viewpoint. I would say that choosing the left hand or the right hand path is how you want to go about practicing that viewpoint. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it's how you approach it, I guess.
Right. And what I would say, the difference, I would say there is, other than obviously there's a difference between theistic, atheistic Satanism of, more spiritual and like practice and ritual, and then atheistic, which is more about like activism and other such things. I would say atheistic Satanism is more of a reactive ideology, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I am of the belief that if the church did not exist, if the economy and like the government as we see it today did not exist, atheistic Satanism would not exist. Whereas I feel theistic Satanism, demonology, all this other stuff stands on its own without having to focus on, oh, we're taking this down. Like, because atheistic Satanism is about, hey, we're going to fight this system. Right. Awesome. Do that. Awesome. Proud of you. The theistic Satanism is more of, I am not going to let anyone dictate how I live my life. I am not going to be
ruled by anyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that could mean from a individual standpoint, relationship standpoint, from a governmental or economic standpoint, from a religious standpoint. I feel theistic Satanism is a lot more malleable with those topics, whereas I feel atheistic Satanism has this very specific way it wants to go about it.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Interesting. And another question about, I think I saw one of your videos where you were talking about baneful magic. So I guess I started with more of the Hermeticism, so the 7 Hermetic principles. And I've had experiences throughout my life where I guess I do believe in karma. And my question would be, do you believe in karma?
I would say so. I guess it just depends on because I do feel there's been a huge mistranslation with what karma actually means in the Western world. Especially when you look at the threefold law is really popular over here in the West, and I just don't subscribe to it.
Okay.
Personally, I do believe karma exists, as in what you put in is what you get out.
You get back. Yeah.
Exactly. And I would say when it comes to justice and other such things, I do believe karma exists to an extent, but I also believe that sometimes you have to embody that karma at the same time.
Oh, okay. Because I know I've heard about if you're gonna, do painful magic, it's not so much karma. If you get that whiplash back, it's because the practitioner wasn't handling their magic correctly. So would you agree with that?
Yeah. Any advice I would give to anyone wanting or even like thinking about throwing baneful magic is to, one, make sure you do it with a steady mindset.
Okay.
If you're outside, like if you just got out of a heated argument, like and then you do it, yeah, that's probably not going to work out.
Yeah.
Well. I would say, like, reflect on it. Is this something I want to do? And then when you do decide whether you want to do it or not, you have to be solid in your mind 100%. Yes, this is what has to be done. I've noticed in my experience, if there is even a 1% shred of doubt, oh, should I do this? There's going to be at least a little bit that comes back. And that's because of uncertainty. And that's
uncertainty. Probably that fear behind it, right? That's what I've been saying. even if like I just did an episode on like Ouija boards or Ouija boards, if you approach it with fear, then most likely that outcome, that experience that you'll have is going to be a negative one. But it's all about how you approach it. So that's okay. That's good to know. Well, this has been really, really fun and actually very, very informative. So before we go, do you have any last thoughts or do you have anything that you want to add?
Honestly, I just want to say thank you for having me on. And like, the demonic is challenging, and it's enlightening and amazing and terrifying all at the same time. And when I talk with like other practitioners, a lot of them seem to agree, if there's no fear within your path, there's no growth. And
Yeah.
I feel that we have a lot to learn from the dark. I feel like we have a lot to learn from the demonic. However, I do believe in balance. I'm a practitioner of balance. I've actually just been getting into angelic magic and starting my lighter path.
Wow. So it's kind
Yeah.
of like you work the other side. Usually most people like myself start out with, like the angelic path and, love and light, and then slowly work their way to dark magic, but you're doing the opposite.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but
But here we are.
One way I like to put it with angels and demons, which I would love to hear your thoughts on this. I believe in order to gain power from the angels offer power, but they bestow it to those who show their knowledge. I believe the demonic offer knowledge, but bestow it to those who prove their power. So it's like that way they are kind of intertwined and opposites in that regard.
I agree. I think that's true. I mean, I've had to go through a lot to get here to obtain all this knowledge, I guess. But it's true, you do have to prove your power to obtain your knowledge. I agree with that. And also, I know that you were just recently in a movie that came out, right?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, that's so cool. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What's it called and where can people go watch it?
Of course, yeah. So it's called He Who Lives in Hidden Lakes. It's an independent feature that my brother actually directed.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm one of the leads, and you'll be able to watch it on Amazon Prime. It's fun. It's esoteric. It's hilarious and also very thought provoking. It's a mockumentary. So it's super fun.
Cool. I'll definitely have to go watch it then. And then where can my listeners find you?
Of course. So you can find me at TikTok and Instagram. It's the same handle at the Devil's Advocate 415. I believe on YouTube, I think it's different. I think it's DarkSpade 415. Okay. But on my TikTok, there's like a little link where you can find all of my social media. So I'd recommend Instagram and TikTok.
Instagram and TikTok. No worries. I'll put your links on the description box just in case anybody misses that or are a little confused by that. They'll be on there. Or if they're more of a visual person like myself.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much again. We should do this again if you want to.
Absolutely.
This is definitely fun. I'll have to come up with more questions and do more research and watch your movie. And maybe we can talk a little bit about that too.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to come back. Thank you for having me, Laura.
Awesome. Thank you. Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.